Hey, it's Mike Watt. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hey.
It's good to have you on. Of course, Mike, from the seminal punk bands, the Minutemen and Fire Hose, and definitely a very, very important solo artist. How have things been going out in Pedro?
Well, thanks for having me aboard. Here we call it Pedro for some reason.
Pedro?
Yeah.
Is that how it's actually pronounced?
It's a colloquialism. I don't know why. I came here from Virginia when I was 10 and been there ever since, and that's just the way they say it.
Well, that's cool. And
but it being in the harbor of Los Angeles, I get to paddle my kayak 3 days a week.
Yeah, on the new album, The Second Man's Middle Stand, we're going to get into that about this great album that you put together. Pluckin, pedalin, paddlin. That's kind of an axis of enjoyment for you, huh?
Well, that is where I find myself in my middle years. I guess my midlife thing wasn't trying to be a 20-year-old. It was going further back to 9 or something.
Okay. All right. That's a good place to be.
My bicycle and paddling my kayak and playing my bass brings big joy to me.
Funny, you mentioned reverting back to 9 years old. I find that the things that I loved doing when I was 9 are still the things that I love today. I like to play my drums. I like archery a lot, and I like fishing, and those are the kind of things you forget about them when you get, what most people go through in the middle.
Life. You think like you grow out of it.
Right.
Then you'll find out you have to kind of grow. I'm 47 now, and you have to grow back into it.
Right, grow back into it. So now what do? You pedal at the sunrise? Or?
Yeah, I do all my stuff early in the morning. That's another thing about the middle years. I don't really stay up late for gigs, to play gigs. Most of the time I conk early and I get up before the sun. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday I paddle, and then the other 4 days a week I pedal.
That's perfect. Now, do you do mountain biking, or is it mostly just...
No, living in the harbor, we got the cliffs, the warehouses, the docks.
You're a musician, so obviously your life is different than most 9-to-5ers, but while everybody else is battling traffic, everybody else is worrying about getting up and getting to work on time, you're paddling up with the sunrise. That's got to be awesome.
The pelicans, the dolphins, the sea lions, those are my...
that's your traffic jam.
I share the traffic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Gives you a whole new perspective on the day, I bet.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny, I got a car at 16. I didn't ride a bicycle for 22 years.
So now you're rediscovering the bike.
Well, I thought, that's little kid stuff,
Right.
But like I said before, I had to kind of grow back into it.
Do you know Neil Peart from Rush?
Yeah,
the drummer?
I hear he gets dropped off before the town.
Yeah, and he
pedals in.
He says there's 2 ways to travel. You could travel in a vehicle and go through a place, but you really can't experience it unless you're on a bicycle, and it's true.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's great.
Cool.
And you mentioned the Second Man's Mill Stand. Well, that was this big piece I wrote about this sickness that almost killed me a few years ago. Getting over it and getting well, it was those simple things that I really found a lot of value in, after being beat down and almost killed,
Yeah.
And both that one and the opera I wrote before, Contemplating the Engine Room, I wrote on the bicycle,
so
pedaling in the morning.
Yeah.
It's weird how you can get rhythms in the way things come to you abstractly that lend themselves into music more than maybe just sitting there or even having the bass in my hand.
So now when you're riding your bike, or maybe you're paddling with the pelicans and the sunrise, and like you say, nature gives us so many rhythms and so many melodies even to choose from. You get that in your head, and then you go home, and do you transfer it to the bass, or do you try to just capture that feeling?
Yeah, that's what I do. In the old days, before I got into that stuff, I just have the machine in my hand, the bass in my hand, and it almost got like track housing, what I called neck math. You just figured out patterns. It wasn't tied to anything that wasn't kind of man-made. Stuff I learned. There's something about interacting with nature. I guess it's kind of like a psychedelic experience. You get out of these well-worn ruts and have the actual reality of the world make, it seems like it's even a hyper-reality,
Right.
And so that it breathed a big breath of fresh air into my whole way of composing stuff.
Oh, it definitely shows.
Well, there's a danger in playing too long. You get caught in what I call, the I Love Lucy rerun syndrome. keep regurgitating. Like I said, track housings, right? Let's put the porch on this side, the garage on that side.
Right.
So you need things to come into your life, I think, to keep you vital, keep you in the moment. Like with bicycle riding, I mean, after a while you don't fall down as much. But then is it really about riding with no hands or, you know, a unicycle? I think it's more important where you're going to take the bike, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So the same with bass, you know, it's not really more and more notes, faster and faster. I got to find something that feels genuine to me, you know, so I can be impassioned about it. I'm not just doing connecting the dots.
You're a very accomplished bass player, so you do get into that rut. And one of the things that, you know, a lot of these musicians get into this, it's almost an acrobatic display, and then you kind of say, yeah, it's fine to watch you play all these notes at 100 miles an hour, but is it music? There's a point where you're kind of saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you got to get back
Absolutely. That's why the punk movement, when I first experienced, had such a profound effect on me, because that was, you know, in the middle, later 70s and all, fusion was really big, and it was then seeing these guys in Hollywood play who were just obviously just starting out.
Right.
And it made me think about, what is music? You know, is it really just virtuosity, or is there some kind of story, some kind of heart to it?
Right. When you were in the Minutemen and subsequently in Firehose, did you think, I mean, when you were a young kid, and you guys definitely had something to say, and you expressed yourself so greatly, did you think that someday you'd look back and have this place in that pantheon, that movement, where you guys would be revered as such?
Yeah, it's strange about that, because we were so in the moment. When I think about the Minutemen, I think about D. Boone. Basically, it was me and my friend, you know, what we did started at 13, just playing for each other, and a movement came that was so open at the time that they let anybody play. So basically, we took our personal relationship, put it in front of people.
Right.
And I have to say, people have been very generous with remembering us. And because at the time, you know, we were thought we were part of this big kind of thing. I mean, it was very loose. There was no hierarchy.
Right.
It was, even to call it a movement is strange. But I have to say that because in weird ways, the guys in the other bands, like Black Flag and Husker Du and the Meat Pups, they were all kind of inspiring us, influencing us. But it wasn't like you would want to copy them. But somehow there was like a spirit or something.
Yeah, it was a camaraderie. We're doing this for the right reason. We've got
that's
something.
The way I look at those days. It's hard for me when I think of separateness. Okay, me and D. Boone as boys, and now we get to do this in front of people. But at the same time, I'm thinking of the weird movement.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow we were doing our version of trying to find our own voice.
And I'm not going to cast aspersions on a band, but we can package punk, and we can say, here's Green Day with their new punk album, and they can play the Grammys and be punks, but it's not the same. And it's not. No, I'm not saying that they're not good musicians or that their work's not valid. I'm just saying there's like a nod from people who came up, you know, like you still do. You pack the Econoline van, you put up your own flyers, and you get a bunch of people to come out and have a great time and share an experience. You can't really do that with a corporate structure.
No. And since that system worked for me in those old days, I thought to myself, why change?
Right.
And in fact, I've been doing some spiels with people who tell me that Green Day has a punk opera.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, so you kind of started that.
What their new album is, I've been told, and, you know, the Engine Room one was like 8 years ago. And you know what I got to say, though, about young people? They are a lot more open-minded and generous, you know, to check things out than maybe in my day. God, in my day when I was a teenager, people wouldn't listen to stuff that was even 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
You know, the early 70s and all that. And nowadays I find out that kids are very interested in, you know, where things came from.
Right.
They're not, I know there's these corporate pressures to market the flavor of the day, but man, it just seems people, younger people just want to check things out. It's so funny, I hear them called slackers because you never met a bigger generation of slackers than in my day.
No, tell me about it, yeah. We know how to slack, my friend.
So for some of the, I mean, if you think about it, Pat Boone sold more Tutti Fruttis than Little Richard. And
right.
That was 50 years ago. So the idea of genuine things getting co-opted is probably an old thing. So it's always going to be with us, I think. And you know, but on the other side of that, like any farmer would tell you, if you want a good crop, use a lot of manure. So
that's you got to sift through
I
it. Right?
never get too cynical about it. And I've actually met the guys in Green Bay. They seem like nice cats. I mean, a lot of these, the kids they're born in a moment, and it's a lot of it's circumstance.
Oh yeah,
and they don't. I was never talked down to by them. In fact, they gave me a lot of respect, and us being older men. But you're right. The days are different. For one thing, a lot of people. I know it got pretty big in England early, but in the U.S., punk kind of stayed small for a long time.
For a long time.
A lot of people, the Square John people especially, kind of hated it. But that wasn't totally a negative thing because, like you were saying, the self-reliance thing, it helped build it in us. Whoa, nobody's going to put up these flyers. We'll do it ourselves.
Right.
And like I was saying, if it worked then, I still do it because what I treasure most, what I learned about that movement was autonomy, freedom. If you're not tied, if you're not a hand puppet,
right,
you can experiment and do crazy stuff like punk operas.
Right, and all I can say is the Second Man's Middle Stand, Contemplating the Engine Room, and the Ball Hogger Tugboat. Yeah, that was a great album. It was more of a party feel with people stopping by and
jamming. I wanted to make a record
jamming
without a band or like 15 different bands.
Right.
I never tried something like that. It was a kind of a test of a theory I had that if the bass player knew the song, anybody could come in and play drums and sing. So I just tried it out, and sure enough, because the bass is politically, it's a weird thing in a band. You're kind of like the glue.
Yeah, you're a bit of rhythm and a bit of melody.
Yeah. It kind of like when you go in the bathroom, most people probably look at the tile. Well, I look at the grout,
Let's hold it together. I like that analogy.
So D. Boone's mom put me on the bass. You're 13. I didn't really know about it. But man, I'm very grateful because it is, and it's kind of a mysterious instrument too.
Yeah.
You got a chance to kind of reinvent it for people when they experience it.
Yeah, well, the electric bass especially is a total, changing of the form of the original bass, and it's a young instrument,
Yeah. And then, like in my day, when I was younger, it was kind of like right field in Little League, where you put your lame friend or something. But then people like Les Claypool and Flea, they've really popularized it. I meet young people now. It's not something they play after guitar. It's like the first instrument they're learning.
Yeah.
Which is much different than when I was younger. So the bass, it's still finding itself. It's kind of neat that I lucked into playing it. It's so weird, too, leading a band on bass. Because you're actually backing up your guy. It's in a way it humbles you, unless you're trying to just lead guitar all the time on the bass. But if you're really playing bass, you're kind of pushing your guys up there. You look good, making them look good, So I kind of like that. You
were part of a movie by Mike Gordon from Phish.
Oh yeah, right.
About the government mule when their bass player Alan Woody passed away.
Yeah, Warren and Matt.
Yeah,
Cats asked me aboard.
That's a great salute, not only to a fallen musician who is just an incredible bass player, but for the bass as an instrument, it's a must see.
Yeah, and the bass players, God, Bootsy,
Larry
Graham, John Entwistle.
Yeah, Chris Squire was there. That was really something.
Isn't that amazing? And then we got to they asked me about my shirts. What's with the flannels?
Right, you were flannels, right?
And I told them about Creedence when we were young, me and D. Boone. We learned all their songs. So in a way, we got to, besides Alan Woody, we got to play tribute to John Fogerty and Creedence because that band had profound effect on us. Yeah,
and indirectly to your best friend D. Boone by playing a Creedence tune,
Very generous guys. That was a neat thing to do, They kind of come from a different scene, this jam band kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they had no airs or anything. I guess Mike Gordon's from that, too, with Phish and all that. And here they let this guy, kind of a bizarre, weird guy, come and play, and very open.
Right.
Much respect to them, really.
Well,
I felt very honored to be part of the whole thing, but then right in the moment, playing that song. And to do Creedence, something that me and D. Boone did so much with these guys all these years later. It shows you what a neat thing music is.
I want to just tell people to go to hootpage.com. Everything from keeping track of your diary, planning your shows, and showing people the process behind your creative thinking. It's a great place to visit.
Well, a lot of that comes from the early days of the movement, a big part was the fanzines. And I kind of seen the web, used this way, as an extension of that, where you got no middleman, no gatekeeper.
Right.
Because in the old days, we really didn't, there was no MTV, so every town had their own punk scenes, and the way we knew about them was the fanzines. They were really important. They were like fabric.
Right.
So when you went out to go on tour, the guy who wrote the article probably is going to open up. You're going to conk at his house after the gig he put on the show. It was a real person-to-person thing. So I try to keep them, like I've been saying, these ethics, I don't think got old-fashioned. Probably there was a lot of this in the 60s, too, because you hear these Pebbles records, these 60s bands, like what was it called, the garage thing?
Yeah, the garage movement.
But it got lost. So for people like me and D. Boone, we had to reinvent it, find out about it again through punk. But this stuff might have been happening in the 60s, too. I talked with older people, like Mayo Thompson, Red Crayola, who was in that psychedelic band in Texas in the 60s. And he said there's similarities, where it was outside enough where it was more personable, less of like what you were saying with the corporate. What I'm trying to show kids is, look, this guy can do it, you can do it too. Because that's what the movement did to me, and I feel a debt to pass that on. It's all about empowerment, let the freak flag fly.
Perfect.
Not the same way, all individually, but, if I'm doing it, you can do it.
Right.
That's what I learned, and I want to pass that down.
Any immediate plans to tour, or what?
I'm going to do the Second Man Opera in Europe, April and May.
Awesome.
And then I'm going to start working on a new record. I'm going to try to make a record a year now. It's just something because the gap actually between the last two records was bigger than my whole Minuteman career. I did 11 tours, and I got sickness and stuff, so there was mitigate circumstances. But I'm going to try to make a record every year, so this summer I'm going to try to work on it. And then I got a call from Iggy a few days ago. We're going to do some Stooges gigs. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I'm actually...
you're the bass player
finally
now.
The youngest guy in the band.
Iggy Pop and the Stooges. What was that like when they did the reunion with the
we
Ashton?
were 16 listening to the Stooges. If T-Boom would have said, in 30 years you're going to be playing with these guys.
Yeah, right.
That's a mind-blow and a half.
He's a ball of energy, man. What an artist.
Oh, yeah. He's going to turn 58 in April.
Incredible.
This guy stage dives face first.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of D. Boone in a way like, this might be the last gig. Got to play it.
Yeah.
Give it your all.
And Iggy's definitely...
There's a real ethic, too, about it, about working the show, working it, no walkthroughs, no connect the dots, you got to be in the moment. He's a very inspiring guy, Iggy. He's incredible. He was talking about maybe later recording an album, so that's some plans. I also got this band, my oldest band is called Dose. It's a two-bass band.
Yeah, tell us about Dose.
Black Flag, Kira, and we're almost done with our fourth album. We got a couple more songs to record.
Two bass players.
So that's kind of what the moment right now. I just put out this Banyan album, Project Stephen Perkins.
Oh, from Jane's Addiction.
They've done 3 albums now, and I ended up writing half of this last one, but it came out a couple months ago, and that's with this incredible guitarist, Nels Klein, who's playing with Wilco now.
Right.
He also played on my engine room. So it's trippy about music, how you can connect and interconnect. Yeah.
What do you look for in a drummer? Because, you worked with so many diverse drummers, from Stephen Perkins to...
Steve Perkins, a lot of polyrhythm, a lot kind of tribal. One of the best rock drummers I ever played with was Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Amazing drummer. Jesus. I can't...
He's a monster.
I can't tell you. What I'm looking for with anybody who plays music, really, is... Because when more than one guy's playing it, an ensemble, if you will...
Yeah.
What you're trying to do is make an interesting conversation. So what you're looking for is personality. Basically, you're trying to fit together with the other cats, but then make the conversation singular, unique, so it doesn't sound generic. That's the thing that I'm always trying to fight, is just the generic, because there's already enough of that out there.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking for when I'm playing with somebody. What is it that makes it them? It's funny, because if you look at your own fingerprint, it's unique. But somehow, maybe because, well, whatever, that doesn't come through. It gets all, genericed out.
Oh, yeah. And you start going through the motions.
I think that's what one of the thing about the arts is for, is to try to fight that tendency and bring out the uniqueness, almost celebrate it, right? I even play with a guy who doesn't have the best time, whatever. If he's got something that, makes it stand out, then that's going to fire something up inside of me.
Right.
Bring out stuff maybe I haven't explored before. So that's what I'm looking for. I think life is about learning it. So you got to keep putting yourself in situations that'll challenge you and make you learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Help you learn.
And as far as conversationalists, as musicians, it is true. There's only one way to talk.
Max Roach had this song called "Percussion Discussion"
sure.
a long time ago, and even though the rhythm section, right? But yeah, we are kind of talking to each other,
right? And when I was talking,
then the soloist or whatever, the guys in the mid range,
right,
in the treble, they can pick up on this, and it's interesting. I got this audio interview of John Coltrane in 1958, and the guy asks him, I think it was August Bloom, he asked him, what are you listening to when you're soloing like that? And he goes, the bass.
Yeah.
And you never saw a bigger smile on your face.
Yeah, right.
than when I heard that. I mean, this is John Coltrane, and he's saying he's listening to the bass.
That's amazing. And, we were talking about kids discovering things. They need to find that. You go back and find out who John Coltrane is. You got to educate yourself on that, and you find out.
And you talk about psychedelic. Wow.
Yeah. Coltrane's, his entire catalog. And you talk about a progression of an artist, starting from his early days and when he went up through Miles to the things he was doing towards the time when his life ended were a direct conversation with a higher power. I mean, those cats were on telepathy.
Yeah, I mean, much respect. It's funny, too, I didn't grow up with any of that knowledge. I grew up Navy housing,
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a lot of exploration with that. So I found it through the punk scene. Raymond Pettibone, a friend I met early on, played that stuff for me. And I thought they were doing punk, too. They were just older. I didn't even know John Coltrane was dead.
Yeah.
But the music, there was something really emotional about it, and it connected with me, even though I was coming from Blue Oyster Cult and Creedence.
Right. But
this hit me, like you were saying, kind of on a spirit level. And I found out, listening more and more and reading about him, and interesting man.
To get back to your music and to tie it all in here, we're talking about Mike Watt here, and one of my favorite artists, because there's a balance when I listen to your music of structure, but there's also a real openness to spontaneity.
Yeah, well, I try to work that in.
So when you're writing, do you leave room when you're writing a tune? Or, you kind of leave room?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, in the early days with D. Boone, since I grew up with him, he could just, by osmosis, come up with parts. I wouldn't have to tell him parts.
Right.
And then when I lost him, I still tried to get that going in a way. But I couldn't, reinvent all my early years. So with composition, I try to set that up, where I'll talk to the guys, I'll give them even non-musical things, hey, this is sailors laughing.
Right.
And let them interpret it their way, and then part of their personality will come out through the music.
Right.
That's another neat thing about being on the bass. You can set folks up. So you're not, everybody's not a caboose to your train,
Right.
You're kind of,
and
like
that's
I said before, looking good by making them look good, putting them in a light, like here they go, here's their story.
Right, and it's also
facilitate this.
It's storytelling, and it is conversation where you could play a bass, and in your head you're saying, this is me paddling with the pelicans. This is me angry because dinner's burnt, or this is me crying, and it's a direct connection between the artist and the instrument. I think that's an essential lesson.
Yeah, I do too.
Cool. Well, we're talking about Mike Watt. Mike, you get to pick some of your psychedelic selections. I can't wait to play these.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
Well, a guy who had incredible influence on me from those days, Rocky Erickson.
Sure.
I mean, I do several of his songs even, 10-watt versions, but the guy had incredible influence on me, and maybe something like Fire Engine.
Okay.
13th floor elevator.
13th floor elevators, got it. Okay.
Then from England, there was an interesting guy named Sid Barrett.
Sure.
It was pretty psychedelic.
Yeah, he started it, didn't he?
His band became this huge thing. But I really liked that first album.
Pipers at the Gates of Dawn? Piper at the Gates of Dawn?
Piper at the Gates of Dawn, right.
Yeah, great album.
And there's a song, Scarecrow.
Okay, here it is.
That album, that's really good. Of course, anything rock and roll with an electric guitar. Because I think basically rock and roll probably started with the piano with Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis.
Sure.
But with the electric guitar, Jimi Hendrix, Third Stone from the Sun, incredible song. I mean, his guitar was so profound on us, we can't even really tell his style. It's been absorbed by everybody so much.
You'll never find another drummer like Buddy Rich. You'll never find another guitar player like Jimi Hendrix, but you can find yourself. That's the important thing that those guys tell us.
Yeah, but he opened a lot of doors for us, I think. Jimmy was incredible.
Excellent. Well, Mike, thanks for taking time out for us, man.
Yeah, I was conceived in Chicago.
Oh, is that right?
There's a boot camp, North Shore or something.
Sure, up by the Great Lakes.
That's where my father was 19 years old, met my mother. So I have a real connect with Chicago.
So keep up the good work.
Thank you much, and any time.
Oh, yeah.
You ask me great things that I usually don't get asked,
See you when you come through Chicago. I'll call you closer to the fall, and we'll hook up, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
Be well, my friend.
Okay.